Hey there, welcome to day one of the Business Finance Challenge for Beginners. I'm excited to get started with you guys. I'm Katie Fisher, and let's remember through this challenge that we're just in the beginning phases of this, and we're going to keep it super simple. And maybe at times you may be thinking, Katie, this is too simple. And that's okay. You're going to grow from here. And that's the thing, is to develop a system and a habit for once you start using software and automation and things like that, these things will already be habits for you and will come a lot easier once you start implementing them into software or systems. Okay, so let's get started. Today, we're going to talk about the transition from hobby to business and kind of what you need to do to get your business legal and to make sure that you've covered all of your bases with the IRS. First, to get started, we're going to talk about business structure. Now, I know you guys have heard things like this before, like sole proprietor, LLC, S Corp, C Corp, all of these fancy things. And you're thinking, what one do I need to be? Do I need to license my business? Do I need to get a lawyer? Do I need to do all of these things? So here's the thing. I'm going to break it down real simple for you guys. I'm today for the purpose of this training. And because you're beginners, I'm only giving you two options because most of the time you don't take the corporation election until your business has started being profitable and you're trying to use it for tax benefits, or you're have multiple partners and you're setting up an S corp. And for the payments or for the purpose of protecting the company as a whole. So today, for the purpose of the beginning, I'm giving you guys two options that would probably be best for you, and that is sole proprietor or LLC or limited liability company. So a sole proprietor is kind of like the default. If you don't select something, then that's what you are. And it's no big deal. You don't actually have to select anything, right? If you don't go and elect that you're a sole proprietor, then you're automatically a sole proprietor. And there's really nothing other than what we're going to talk about a little bit later. There's not a whole lot you need to do as a sole proprietor for registering your business or maintaining that title. Okay, so sole proprietor is a simple structure which involves just one individual in the operation of the business, right? For tax purposes, the sole proprietor is allowed to claim the income and expenses for their business, and then they pay self-employment taxes on those profits. So pretty straightforward, right? A limited liability company is the same. It's treated the same as a sole proprietorship. However, you have that protection of the limited liability company where your business assets are now protected under that shelter, as long as you keep your business and your personal funds separate. So the reason that I give you guys two options is because, so if you have employees, if you have people working for you, if you were a construction company, um, if you were working in people's homes, if you have a brick and mortar, then you would want to highly consider it a limited liability company. Okay, for your protection, and the protection of your business, you would want to consider your limited liability, the limited liability or LLC versus just being a sole proprietor. Okay. If you guys have questions about that, feel free to ask them, and I am happy to answer. Okay, so the next thing where I said, when you have a sole proprietorship, there's not really a whole lot that you have to do. One of the things that we are going to do, and one of the things that are going to be on the first sheet of your notebook, so hopefully you guys got a notebook, and hopefully you guys got some dividers and some of these little plastic things, whatever they're called, some of these little plastic sleeves. So one of the first things that we're going to do that's going to be in here is going to be our registration or fictitious name or a registration of your LLC. So like I said, if you own a construction company, if you're working in people's homes, or you have a brick and mortar or building where people can come to, then I highly suggest that you register as an LLC, and LegalZoom is a great option for doing that. If you are not, and you just want to register as a sole proprietor, you're going to go to your state Secretary of State website. And I just said state a bunch of times. You're going to go to your state's Secretary of State website. Google search is the best way to find this, and just click register a fictitious name or register a DBA. Okay. And you're just going to register the name of your business. This lets the state know that you are doing business in the state. And it's going to give you a little form saying, hey, they're using this name and they're doing business in the state. Typically, they're around $8 to $10. Okay. Pretty straightforward, pretty straight and simple. We'll kind of go over how to do that. So once you get that form, you're going to print it out, and you may need it to start your bank account. So make sure you print that out and make sure you keep your login information. Okay, so that's what your first section is going to be. This is going to be all of our business information. So we're going to include our registration for our business fictitious name here. The next thing is, do you need to charge sales tax? We're going to talk about this a little bit more in depth a little bit later, but most of the time, the general answer is no, because there's a sales nexus in most states. However, I will make sure I attach the sales tax guide for you guys. Check that out, because some states require, if you have a physical presence, that you are required to collect and remit sales tax. Illinois, for example, if you're just in the state doing business, then you have to collect and remit sales tax. Okay, so they don't say you have to sell a certain amount, but anybody that you sell to within the state, you have to collect and remit sales tax for that. Okay, so I'll make sure I attach the guide here. Make sure you check out your state's regulations on that. And then if you guys have any questions about that, let me know. We talk about that really in depth and a lot inside my MoneyWise Creatives Facebook group. And I can definitely get you guys more details on it, whether your state requires you to charge sales tax and those kind of things. If you are required to charge sales tax, you will be required to register for a sales tax ID. Okay. And it's pretty simple. Most of the time you register in your state and in your county. Most of the time your state and your county are going to cost you about $25. So you can plan on about having to budget about $50 for those IDs and those registrations. Okay. So next, let's talk about, do you need an EIN number? If you have an LLC or an employee, you do. And what is an EIN number? Let's break that down. An EIN number is an employee identification number. It's also a number that identifies your business. So it's kind of like a social security number for your business, which is kind of cool. So if you have an LLC or you have employees, you are required to have an EIN number. Otherwise, you are not required to get an EIN number, but it's kind of helpful, especially if you're somebody who is being hired as a subcontractor. At the end of the year, you'll have to issue or give the people who you've worked for, who paid you over $600, a W-9, so they can issue you a 1099. And it's very helpful to have an EIN number, so you're not passing your social security number around. Okay, and those are free. You can go to irs.gov/EIN and you can grab you an EIN number for free. Okay, so next. Sorry guys, I heard this big bang and it was my cat Bobby slamming into the door because he needed treats. So let's get back to this. Our next step is our business checking accounts. Okay, and this is probably the most important step. If you don't do any of the other stuff that I just told you, having a separate business checking account and having a separate personal checking account is the best thing that you can ever do. I know that it's a pain in the butt, but separating your personal and your business funds are the best thing you can do. It's helpful to have them at the same bank or a bank that you can transfer funds between. But here's the thing, typically business accounts, you're going to actually have to like write a check or go to the bank and transfer those funds or call. Typically they don't let you online, they don't let you transfer money between your business and your personal account, typically. In every bank account that I've ever had, has always been that way. So be prepared for that. That's why I said it's convenient to have them at the same bank. But online banks are a great option as well. Okay. So opening a separate business and personal checking account is the best thing that you can do. And the reason we need to have a separate bank account is just for tax purposes and for the purposes of if you have a limited liability company or an LLC, which are the same thing, if you guys are intermingling funds, then that actually removes the shelter and protection of the LLC. Okay. So it's important to set up a business checking account just for the purposes of, like I said in the worksheet, clear bookkeeping to establish your business as a business and not a hobby in the eyes of the IRS, and just to create a clear paper trail for audit purposes. Okay. And it's just important to keep your funds separate. Okay. So if you guys do nothing else from this training, we're going to set up a separate banking account. Tomorrow we are going to start, we're going to talk about track your income and expenses and kind of where to get started there. Okay. So that is our next step. But for the purposes of the business binder, this first section in here, which just as it is mine, is going to have all of your important business things in here. So in mine, it has our insurance, vehicle insurance, general liability insurance. Then we have our W-9. That's something that you guys can put in here, print out as well. Just don't date it, and then you have it anytime that you need it. We have all of our business licenses. So if you're required to have a business license in the county that you're doing business, attach them in here. I have our subcontractors agreement. And that's auto insurance. Okay. Those are the things that I want you guys to put in there. I want you to put in there your registration for your fictitious name. If you register an LLC, you will get what's called a article of organization, and it's like a big book. Okay, and that's what I keep for those purposes. I don't keep our registration of our LLC in there. But when you guys register your fictitious name, you need to put that in there. Your EIN number, you want to put that in there. Your business insurance, and also a list of logins can also be helpful for like your EIN number, your state, your Secretary of State, if you have to get a sales tax ID, and then your bank information. All of that can be helpful to have it in one place. Okay, so that's the purpose of this, is creating a system that when we need it, it's here, and all the information that we need is here. So we're going to register a fictitious name. We're going to get a separate checking account if we haven't got one yet. Okay, and then we're going to find out the requirements for our state as far as collecting and remitting sales tax. Pretty simple, right? Okay. So I'm going to create a checklist for you guys on the tasks that I want you to get done. I know we kind of covered a lot of things, but those are just general knowledge, general basic things that we kind of need to keep in mind. But the 3 things that I want you guys to do for now is register your business, get a separate checking account, and find out whether you need to be collecting or remitting sales tax. Okay, so let's get those things done. I'm here to help, and I'll be back later to answer any questions that you guys might have.